Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT. Proud to have you here every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and I'm very honored and privileged to be here with you in the 200th episode of 2020. That is episode 200 of 2020, not episode 200 overall. We've done many shows here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, as well as on the Dan Tortora Show, is what it was called beforehand. But this being episode 200 of 2020, a monumental moment. Rob Drummond here with us for the first portion of it, and carrying us through the rest of episode 200 of 2020 is Joe Adam inside of Ma and PazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. Rob said to get your popcorn ready. You could do that by going to maandpazpopcorn.com. You could order it from right here in central New York, as well as New Hampshire, Florida, Pennsylvania, California, so on and so forth, all around the world and throughout our country by going to maandpazpopcorn.com. Use the promo code DT20. That's DT20, and you will get 20% off on me. So, with that being stated, I am very happy and privileged to have Joe Adam back on the show. Former offensive line coach for Syracuse, and on a coaching staff that I believe never got the credit that they truly deserved. And they have moved on to do amazing things. Joe at St. Anselm, Tim Lester doing what he's done at Western Michigan, DeAndre Smith having a fantastic and a very successful time at Utah State and whatnot, and of course moving on and moving forward to where he is right now at Texas Tech. A lot of love and respect for these gentlemen. Bobby Acosta doing good things, Jake Moreland, obviously Scott Schaefer and what he did with Middle Tennessee State. So it is my pleasure and my honor to have Joe back on the show. Joe, how you doing today?
Doing great, Dan, man. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, man, and listen, above everything, I feel that, again, I mean, the staff that Syracuse had, with you being a part of that, really did a lot of great things, recruiting-wise, brought in a lot of the players that through this adversity and through these tough times have been, the players that have been a key element of success when success has come. The Eric Dungies, you having your offensive line, Sam Heckel doing some good things, unfortunately having injuries and whatnot, bringing in a guy like Evan Adams, and, just what you were able to do and the work that the staff was able to put forward, before I could go anywhere, I do want to say as part of Syracuse's history that as a native of Syracuse and as someone who's followed this team my entire life, I respect and I appreciate the work that you did while you were here.
Hey, I appreciate that, Dan. It was a great part of our lives together. We had a special group of coaches that worked hard, believed in hard work, and tried to put the best product on the field and coach and develop young men. And sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your way, and I get that, but we're very privileged and very blessed to spend time in Syracuse.
That coming here from Joe Adam this morning, former Syracuse offensive line coach, current head coach of the St. Anselm NCAA Division II team in New Hampshire. Joe, for you to look at this offensive line, and not just Syracuse offensive line, I mean, as a head coach now, you're overseeing everything, but you've been an offensive line coach. You know the ins and out of the line. From what you have seen and what you do know, what can you say about it? Because, is it mechanics? Does it just come down to coaching and seeing, some of these things maybe on film that aren't happening? Because some of these guys have been there a while, some have not. A guy like Chris Elmore has been put on defense. He's been put at fullback, at tight end. Now he's being put on the offensive line. What are you seeing as a coach that knows the ins and outs of the offensive line to kind of look at this from an analyst perspective on what your takeaways have been?
Yeah, I think what you're seeing just around college football in general is, the COVID piece has accelerated some things and, has really put pressure on teams as far as their depth. And when you put together, and especially in FBS football, where you have COVID protocols, and a guy either opts out because he has that option to do so, and then you have COVID protocols, and then you might have to plug a guy in who's maybe not ready to play, or a younger player that still needs some more maturation and some repetitions. That's usually a recipe that's not going to be successful, and it's difficult. I mean, I think managing your roster and team management is probably the most important thing moving forward in this season, because you're going to have things that happen and injuries that happen along the way, and how quickly can you get the next guy ready, and can you make those schematic things as simple as possible so you can minimize the learning part of it, and and then just have that player have some confidence when he gets on the field. He may be overmatched physically, but can you cover up those deficiencies with what you're doing, or getting him some help in some certain areas? So I think it's a microcosm of a couple things, of maybe some injuries, some lack of a spring ball, and then now plugging guys in maybe when they're not ready to roll. So you're seeing it happen across the country, and it's those guys that can handle that attrition, that have the blessings of having some depth, or having especially guys up front that have swing capabilities and can play tackle and guard. And you really have to have an NFL mentality right now in college football, because that's what it's going to take to be successful.
Yeah, and we look at, like you said, being able to do what you can at this point to navigate through the different things that happen. Syracuse having to navigate with Tommy DeVito. Looks like, this injury that he's had to his leg may be keeping him out for the season. Dino said it was not good. There's no official announcement from Syracuse University, but there's the notion that he is done before this injury happened. There's been a lot of struggles and frustration offensively. Rex, you obviously have a bond to that. A lot of the coaches from the past staff respect Rex and appreciate him. I went down and saw him at HB Plant, saw him and his brother and a bunch of the players down there in Tampa. Loved being around them and their coach, and seeing 7-on-7 in the summer was really, really cool a few years back. What can you say about Rex? I mean, this year he's 7 of 18. He does have, a big-time touchdown pass, went through cancer treatment and whatnot, but what can you say about Rex Culpepper, and, the only guy on Syracuse's team right now behind Tommy DeVito that's taking a snap at quarterback?
I mean, how can you not root for Rex Culpepper? I mean, this guy, unbelievable. Remember when we recruited him, Tim Luster spent a lot of time down there at Tampa recruiting him, and, great family, a great work ethic, unbelievable skill set, tremendous leadership skills. And for him to overcome the things in his health, to be able to just get back on the field is a tremendous thing for him. And I know we're all rooting for him. And he's one of the best human beings I've ever been around. And I wasn't around him as much, towards the end, because he was in that class that came in. So, yeah. I'm rooting for him. I mean, it's hard not to. I don't know what stance or where you can come from that you're not rooting for Rex Culpepper, man.
Yeah, and behind that, I mean, you as a head coach, injuries happen now with COVID-19 protocol and everything else. It could shake things up pretty quickly. Syracuse has a true freshman quarterback in Dylan Markowitz coming from Texas. They have Jacoby and Morgan, a true freshman, coming from Canton, Mississippi. They have David Summers, who was a redshirt last year, redshirt freshman coming from Fairfield, Connecticut, on the team. And then Luke McPhail, who is a freshman from Boston, Massachusetts. Besides Rex, it's redshirt freshman that was on the team and got to watch the offense, but hasn't been out on the field, in David Summers. And then you got 3 true freshmen. At this point, at 1-3 and all the woes and needing to light a fire for the offense, especially in the passing game, do you go to Rex and say, okay, he's been here, or do you open the door to one of the young players that hasn't played, or do you just have an open competition in practice and see what happens?
Yeah, I think, I know the guys at Syracuse, tremendous respect for those guys. And there's a lot of coaches that have a lot of time invested and a lot of years invested. And, I think they'll come up with a plan and, based off of what they've seen in practice and so on and so forth. The one thing after coaching 24 years of college football that I have learned, that I do know and can guarantee, is that it's not what you know as a coach, it's what your players can execute. So, and that's something that I live by, here. It's like, hey, we know a lot of football, and that's great, and we spend a lot of time in the meeting rooms and the chalk rooms and, and our off-season studies and how to do things better, but it's taking something that's hard and making it simple for your players so they can go out and play with confidence and be aggressive, and let that competitiveness come out of them. So, you go with the person that gives you what you think as a coach the best chance for success, for overall team success. And where you are certainly right now, do you change the way you do things to make it more of a team game plan? That's entirely up to coaches. So, but I'm sure that those guys, like I said, there's a lot of football years in that coaching staff. I think they'd come up with the greatest solution that they can.
And having to navigate through different things that have happened, what has been, for you, kind of to go back to the offensive line and whatnot, the, grandpa on the offensive line, Evan Adams, you got to know him very, very well, and he went undrafted, which to me was ridiculous, but he did get an opportunity with the Ravens. To go from that, Aaron Service is now, grandpa on the line. Have you seen some good moments, some good things about the offensive line mechanically, kind of to go back to that and whatnot? From what you do know and what you have seen, how much of it is on coaching and just maybe getting back in the lab again and going over some of the, maybe more simplistic fundamental things, but the things that maybe you have to go over and kind of maybe, scratch everything down to the surface and just work on those things?
Yeah, I think they're technically sound. Like I said, you're plugging guys in some certain areas, and being up front, you have to have some cohesiveness, and it's the one spot different than defensive line where you roll 7 or 8 guys in. There's a lot of trust that has to be built between the guy next to you, and you're making certain communication calls. You're looking at blitz calls. You need to bring your guard with you on a slide. You're sorting out protection and who's the most dangerous, 5 and how you pick up games. That takes a lot of time together and a lot of cohesion. And when you're shuffling guys in and out and trying to patch it together and, when you're working on like some type of double team or some kind of speed combo, you got to know that guy behind you is coming with you. You got to trust that if your defensive lineman merges, that you can take that over and then climb to the next level. So I think that's been a huge piece of it. I think they're technically sound. It's just winning downs on 1st and 10 and staying the heck out of 3rd down. Because we all know that on 3rd down, just like in NFL football and FBS more especially, now you get your exotics. I call them the exotics on 3rd down, and you're going to see all different types of fronts. You're going to see your blitz of the week. You're going to see them try to expose who they think is your weak link and attack your protections. So, if you do a little bit better on 1st down, stay ahead of the chains, and keep yourself out of 3rd and long, where now they can, drop 7, bring 6, give you different overload fronts, get to it with 4-man pass rush in different games. Then you just put yourself at a disadvantage, and then all of a sudden you look up the scoreboard and you're like, man, 3 and out, and so I think it's a microcosm of a lot of things, of running the ball effectively so you take pressure off your passing game, and then you take pressure off your offensive line, and then just having some cohesion where a group of 5 start that game and have a couple games under their belt where they're seeing the same things and you're not plugging a new guy in, we had that. I remember my first year. We were talking about, we're at the point. I believe it was against Duke that we're like, man, do I have to burn Alex Hayes' red shirt? Because I was running out of bodies at that point, and there was moving Rob Trudeau back and forth and plugging this guy in and getting a young player try to get the young Aaron Roberts ready. So. I've lived that life, and I've lived the life for 2 years of starting a true freshman quarterback in the ACC, and it's hard. It's hard work, especially back in the day when you had Lamar Jackson and obviously Deshaun Watson, and then Jameis Winston playing at Florida State. So it's just cohesion. I think that. And just spending time together and then just going through all those reps together in practice, I think will help.
Speaking here with Joe Adam, former Syracuse offensive line coach, current head coach at the St. Anselm team, NCAA Division II. And, to look at it, Joe, when you are mixing it up, right, when you have to play through injuries and maybe a guy looks good here but not so much over there, and you're going to do this, maybe started three games at left guard, now you want to try him on the right side, or, what's happened to Syracuse in the past before you got there, was when Justin Pugh, left tackle, he gets hurt, Sean Hickey was the right tackle, then they moved him to left tackle under, Doug Marrone and whatnot. What can you say about when you're doing kind of this musical chairs on the offensive line, as Syracuse has done the last couple seasons, and very much so last season? Aaron Service was playing left tackle and was playing center, and, asked to do a lot of things, and I commend him for it because he's been an absolute dog on the line trying to do what he can to help them. When you're playing musical chairs on an offensive line, and everything's built in the trenches, and I believe the George O'Theory school of thought, which is, you win championships in the trenches and you build from the inside out, and if you're not building from the inside out, offensive and defensive line, then you're not going to win much. What can you say about when a line has to undergo so many changes, either due to injury or just not thinking that it's working? How much can that disrupt the offense of a team?
I mean, it's everything. I mean, your ability to, like I said, there's a ton of pre-snap communication and then trust, especially when you're comboing defensive linemen to the linebacker group, or you're picking up safety blitzes and you're trying to sort 4 for 5 on the wide side. So there's a lot of those things in that cohesion. And as a coach, you try to make decisions and say, okay, if a guy's a right side guy, can he play left, and vice versa? And I think that's what after my first year there, the mindset was, let's cross train everybody and have this NFL mentality, because injuries are going to happen, and you'd love to have 16, 17 guys in your room, but if you don't, it becomes who's the next best at that position, and then you have to decide as a coach, if my right guard is coming out, is it the backup tackle? Is it the backup center that moves to right guard? And is it better to move one piece or to move a few pieces? There's a couple different trains of thought. I like to move less pieces, because change is not a good thing when you're mixing in the offensive line. And like I said, when you have a cohesive group that especially has some older guys that have played a lot of football and they've seen a lot of different looks, it makes it a little bit easier on you as a coach when you're introducing different fronts and 4-down structure, odd structure, and then you get to your exotics on third down. That there's a lot to sort through and there's a lot to teach. So trying to keep it simple and basic from that standpoint, and stick with the protections that you have, and not have to enter in a lot of new game plan ideas. Try to keep it simple.
That coming from Joe Adam this morning here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Joe, for you, before we get into some of the other things in the college football world, how have you navigated, obviously, NCAA Division I at the FBS and the FCS level, different decisions, different things going on. Division I FBS for those, or Division I A FBS, for those that didn't know, they definitely know now that Mark Emmert kind of just came out and said, the president of the NCAA, I have no control over college football. And so, we've seen different conferences say they were going to play. Some were going to sit it out. Some were going to try and play in the spring. Now they're coming back staggered at different times. The ACC was first to report, hey, we're going to do it. Then the SEC came out, the Big 12, the AAC. There's different teams in the country where their conference might not be playing, but they are, or the conference is playing, but they're not. Then the Big 10 is coming back October 24th, the Pac-12 after that. You're at the NCAA Division II level. It's been a different story there. D3, different story there. So, how have you navigated all of this as a coach, knowing that it's kind of been every man for himself, every conference, every division for themselves? There is no cohesive trail of thought to deal with COVID-19. How have you handled that as a coach?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's been difficult. As far as the different protocols and, truth versus optics is a big part of this as a coach. And, I think I've taken this idea that, number one, I am the caretaker of our players here. And they're in my charge, and I've really taken that to heart. So number one, anything that we do has to have safety protocols for our players, and that's the number one thing that I look at. Number two is, how does it affect their mental health? Because that's a real issue that not enough people talk about, where you have hybrid models, and even my team meetings and some of the meetings that I can't do in person are on Zoom. And it's made me teach in a different way. It's made me think in a different way. And I've tried to put myself in the shoes of our student athletes to try to figure out, okay, how can I make this presentation, a teachable moment, but also not lecture to a screen for 45 minutes or for 30 minutes. So I think it's made us better coaches that way. But I think those two things, this obviously the overall health and wellness of my players here, and then their mental health has been the big thing for me moving forward, and has been involved in every decision that we make with all these different protocols that we're following here from our administration. And we're very lucky and blessed that we're still able to do things, even though we're moved to the spring. Here in this league, it's by institution, so you can say it's a little bit of a wild, wild west, but our players have followed tremendous protocols here, and they've been awesome with keeping their masks on and keeping their distance, and we found creative ways to practice and get back to playing football, because you're only going to get better at football by playing football. And it's not going to come by just watching it or going to the weight room. You got to get reps, and you got to get game live reps. So we're trying to make it as competitive as possible here, and I think our coaches and our players are doing a tremendous job.
That coming here from Joe Adam this morning. Joe, for you, having it moved to the spring, you're used to it. How many falls, when I say you're used to it, speaking on, playing in the normal thing, this being a unique season, how many falls in a row, for you in your lifetime, for how many years can you say that you've been playing fall ball? Because obviously this is a very different world.
Gosh, maybe since I was, 14.
And how old are you
Something
today?
along those lines. Yeah, I'm going to be 44 next week.
So for 3 decades, for 30 years, you've played fall ball, and this year it's getting moved to the spring. How jarring, we tell you, you brought up mental health, which I think is fantastic that you brought up something that we need to talk about. How jarring has it been for you, and how is your mental health having something change that hasn't changed for 3 decades for you?
Thank God I have the real head coach at home, my wife, because she's the one that supports me the most, and I can kind of talk to her and go to her with some of the challenges that I have as a man. Iron sharpens iron in our marriage, so I've been very blessed that way, and it's been difficult, just facing a season as a coach of saying, hey, we're not playing. If you're not a competitor, and you don't thrive on competition like college athletes and coaches do, and high school athletics, you don't understand how detrimental this is, and I've found myself just kind of craving competition, different competitions, because that brings out the best in me as a person. And when you don't have those opportunities, that's really hard mentally. So I had to get past my own piece and then really put the onus on our coaching staff, because I'm in charge of those guys as well, and not everybody reacts to that situation the same. So I had some major care and concern for those guys, because if I was struggling, I can imagine they are too. And so we had some good conversations, and I thought there was a little bit of therapeutic talks there early on, and in defining what our definition of success is going to be this fall, and then how we're going to go about it together as a team. And we've made a very clear and concise vision to that, and we've just stuck by it. And we've turned a negative into a positive, and having a growth mindset of, hey, we may not be playing this fall, but here are the things we can control. And again, I go back to Scott Schaefer, every time when I talk about attitude, effort, and enthusiasm, and I've continued to preach that here with our team and our coaches about the things that we can control within this COVID environment.
And like you said, you bring up Scott Schaefer and what he's done. What did Syracuse not know about Scott Schaefer, or something from your mindset or your point of view? What's something that maybe they didn't know, maybe they didn't see? I saw Scott in a very positive light. I still do. I got to spend time with him. I got to build a relationship with him outside of just simply football. So what can you say to me about Scott Schaefer? Because I think he's one of those pieces of Syracuse football history that people don't completely get. Don't understand. Like they didn't. I feel like they maybe missed the boat on who the man is. What can you say to that?
Master motivator, cares for people, makes people better than they were before they met him. Holds a high standard of excellence. Cares about community. He was very much ingrained and talked a lot about the community while we were there. Fell in love with the people that we were around, and felt an obligation to our city while he was the head coach and the coordinator there about putting our best foot forward and really having a team that honored the blue-collar work that Syracuse is and the people that surround it. So that is what I can tell you about Scott. He's one of the most genuine person I've ever met in my entire life. Not only a great football coach, but a great mentor and a great man.
And to go off of that, Joe, I've said that since Paul Pasqualoni in 2001, it's been a shut door atmosphere between, how Syracuse football alumni feel and being included and whatnot. They didn't feel it from Greg Robinson, didn't feel it from Doug Marone, which is strange because he was an alum. Definitely don't feel it from Dino, and didn't really feel it from Scott. But you said that, Scott did bond there. Now, there was a bond to the community between Scott and obviously people, going out to Wegmans and, going out and being at a gas station, somebody bumping into him and something of that respect. It seemed like he was from Syracuse. But did you feel that your staff reached out to the former players? Did you feel like you had some of that? Because there has been a disconnect over the last decade plus, almost 2 decades. Did you feel like Scott at least tried to do maybe a little bit more?
I thought he did. It's a hard job as a head coach. I'm living it right now, to include all your alumni and to keep track of everything. I mean, you're here in my program here, I'm responsible for 100 players, 8 coaches, support staff. So you cater to those people that are in your immediate care, and you try to make sure that everything's good in that realm. And then the second half of it is connecting and reconnecting with your alumni and bringing them in and providing opportunities for your staff and your players. So that's a hard thing to juggle, and and that's why you have a chief of staff or you have other assistant to the head coach, especially at SBS, where they can help cultivate those relationships and make those connections. And I thought Scott was very transparent with that. And I met a lot of Syracuse alums along the way, and some guys I still talk to, and and all those things, and just understanding the history, and people. I don't think you can coach at Syracuse unless you understand history of people who have been there and the things that they've done and the people that have put it on the map. And he was very much into that. When I got to Syracuse.
So looking at the team the way that they are right now, the injuries they've gone through, dealing with coronavirus like we all are, the mental health of it all, and all of the frustration, especially offensively, as a head coach, from a head coach to a head coach, do you think it would behoove Dino to reach out to some of the most successful athletes and, especially some of them that live in the community still of Central New York, and maybe have them just sit down with the kids, even if it's for like a half an hour?
Well, every head coach is different. So, how Coach Babers would do something is maybe different than Coach Marone, and different than me, and different than Tim Lester, and, different than Bobby Acosta. So I think, I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I think you evaluate where you are and, the morale of your team, and then decide, do we need to infuse something into it, or do we stay the course? And those are the hard decisions that you have to make as a head coach. And, I've always believed in sticking with what you believe in and then executing it to your very best ability.
And for you to stick with what you believe in and execute that, you've had a different, as we've spoken about, speaking here with Joe Adam, former Syracuse offensive line coach, current head coach for St. Anselm football. For you, Joe, to be able to ad-lib through this time and do things a little bit differently, it's changed recruiting. I look at it, I always try to see things on a positive side. And so on the positive side for recruiting, we look at the fact that, coaches have been home more, you're in front of your computer more, so the chance of seeing more film is greater, and seeing some of these diamonds in the roughs that maybe you had missed, that could happen now. Do you feel that recruiting has changed in a positive way for the players out there? How have you handled it as a coach? Because from my perspective, and talking to kids on the recruiting trail, I feel like it's given more opportunity for coaches to see more film and more people. How have you navigated through the fact that since we have been home and you can't do your typical things and you're not in your season right now, that you do have the ability to check the tape? What can you say to that?
Yeah, it's taken a lot of discipline, and we've had a lot of discussions, from a coaching staff about how you navigate through this, especially in our world. Most FBS schools are, probably about 85 to 90% capacity right now, where they had some early visitors before COVID shut everything down, and and then they have their verbal commits and so on and so forth. And I don't think the early signing day is going to move at all. So I think that's going to be there to protect those institutions from having anybody poached from their rosters and such. But I am on the NCAA coaches connection here in Division II, and you're going to see you're going to see a transfer rule probably come down the pike here, within the next couple months. And I think there may be a one-time transfer, there may be an open transfer. So I've adopted really a model of kind of building our team with an NFL mentality, and you have to make decisions that put you in the best situation for your team, as far as intermixing maybe some of those transfers, some of those younger guys. If that happens, there's going to be more opportunity for guys who are already playing in college football than there will be for younger players. And the harder part for us within this freshman class is being able to evaluate people. So there are states which we recruit from, including our own, that are playing football right now. Okay, and tape and live game scout is one of the opportunities that we take to be able to see a player and see his demeanor and see how he reacts to certain situations, right? And then check his real height and weight. We're looking at guys also.
Joe, we lost you for a second. You said you were looking at guys also from where?
Oh, from playing states where they're not playing football right now.
Right.
Where they're moved to the spring. So now you're looking at tape from a year over a calendar year ago. Well, bodies change. Guys slim down, guys bulk up. It's not too uncommon for guys to put 25 to 30 pounds on in an off season. So you're looking for updated drill work, updated skill work, measurables that you can quantify. All those things are important. Here at St. A's, we've had over 100 visitors already since August come to campus. So our team is doing a fantastic job of just at least getting them here and giving me a chance to see their body language and to talk with their parents and see their intention and see if they're a good fit for our culture here. So there is no playbook to this from that standpoint, and I think people are going to have to be open to navigating this a little bit differently than the old school way, where you've done it in the past, because COVID has changed that.
Absolutely. We've seen a lot of changes that have happened here as we're trying to, navigate this together and figure this out together here with Joe Adam. Joe, in closing, before I let you go here, I do have to, as a college football head coach, I have to ask you this question because it's on my mind. How does a team who hasn't played a game get ranked in the top 25 amongst teams that have played for the last 4 or 5 weeks? Also, how does a team rise in the rankings after not playing a game? Michigan put to the top 25, rose 3 spots last week, and rose a spot this week. They've risen 4 spots, and they will not play a game until October 24th. Penn State is ranked in the nation's top 10 and hasn't played. So enlighten me. How do you get in a ranking without playing a game, and how do you rise in a ranking without playing a game?
I don't know, but if I can stay top 20 and not play a game, I'm just not going to play at all.
Right. I'm with you.
I mean, those polls, again, made up by people. I don't know if coaches are voting on it, sports writers, their rankings. And just like in recruiting, you can look at rankings and say, well, this guy's a 5-star, this guy's a 4-star, he's the number whatever in the class, or this team has, their recruiting rankings. It doesn't mean anything until you put the ball down and play. So, I don't take a lot of stock into rankings, and I don't take a lot of stock into people that aren't on the field. So, that's my answer to that, I guess. And rankings can be great and make you feel better than probably your team is, yeah. Or they can provide a motivational factor if you fall out and say, hey, this is where our standard has to be, and this is where we got to get to. And that's why, when you look at the college football playoff, all those rankings are involved, and hopefully it's not the same 4 or 5 teams again, and yeah. Maybe they opened it up a little bit and give some of the other teams an opportunity to compete in that kind of tournament and see what they can do.
Yeah, it'd be definitely nice to actually see some of these talented teams get an opportunity. Notre Dame is ranked 4th in the nation, and their wins this season have come against Duke unranked, South Florida unranked, and Florida State unranked. FYI, South Florida hasn't been good the past couple of seasons. Florida State is not good at all right now, and Duke was 0-4 before they came into Syracuse, but yet beating 3 unranked teams that potentially would not be ranked all season. Notre Dame is considered the 4th best team in the nation, which is very strange. Ohio State is considered 6th, and they will not play until after my birthday on October 24th. So, very, very strange. Final note here, Joe. Two coaches and GMs have already been fired. Luckily for Houston, they only had to fill 1 spot. They should be filling 2. I don't think there should be a GM and a head coach, but Bill O'Brien is gone in Houston, and shortly after that, we saw that this week after their loss on a season where I said they had no defense, and they have definitely proven me right in this case. The Atlanta Falcons have fired general manager Thomas Dimitroff as well as head coach Dan Quinn. What are your thoughts on firing a coach mid-season, as the Atlanta Falcons and the Houston Texans already have?
Well, the NFL, more than any league anywhere else, it is a results-oriented business. And it is a business. You're drafting players, you're signing players to free agent contracts. You've got a lot of coaches that have a number of years. I mean, you talk about how many years that Dan Quinn has been coaching in the NFL, and Bill O'Brien after obviously his stint at Penn State. I mean, these are good football coaches. Now, sometimes you have good football coaches that get into a tough situation and it doesn't work, or they get some injuries, or in Houston's case, they traded away one of their better players. They thought that was the right thing to do. The Houston piece is very close. I have a former player here that's in a quality control position down there. And when I saw that Coach O'Brien got fired, I just reached out to him and said, hey, just stay professional, be professional. Now's a time of adversity for you. And, now's the time to really coach, and to work harder. So I'm glad to see that they got a victory yesterday. And sometimes, with all good intentions, you have this mix of coaches and players, and it just doesn't work out. And then you have to say, okay, well, is the juice worth the squeeze? And owners have final say in those things, and fans are fickle sometimes in most major NFL cities. So I think you're going to see those things, and there is no patience in the game of football. Unfortunately, this is not a patience game. This is a results-oriented game, and it's a win at all costs in most places.
Yeah, and so, I mean, and being in this situation is very strange. General manager, though, and head coach, do you think that that's a good idea? I mean, I know that they can argue right now in this moment down in Houston that it's not. But how are you essentially, I mean, you know what it takes to be a position coach. You know what it takes to be a head coach. Could you imagine having to be a general manager and somehow be in the front office and on the field at the same time?
Well, I think the title is one thing. Having the support staff do kind of the daily work for you, But I think it comes down to the speaking about the NFL, it just comes down to the relationship between those two people. And if you have a great working relationship where the general manager in part of working with the team and working with the coach to provide the coach all the resources for the way he wants to do it, then I think that's a really good working environment. And you look at the teams that have thrived in the NFL over the last couple of years, and you say, okay, well, hey, the GM supports the coach. And when you put GM and coach in the same realm, it's nice to have overall power and control over that roster, which is one of the things that NFL coaches like to have, because they don't want to be given the players that they want to coach. They want to be able to go out and say, okay, this guy fits what I want to do, or this guy fits my specific scheme, and or I worked with him maybe at a stop or two ago, and then it works out, for them. But then there's also tremendous pressure when you're dealing with the GM and the head coach. So I think it's always good to have, not a lot of yes men around, and some guys that will challenge the status quo and say, is this the best thing for our team? And then when you leave that meeting room, one way or the other, you guys are all on the same page and you're presenting a united front.
You got to work together, and you got to find a way to move forward. We've all been trying to do that here in these last few months, and hopefully teams can look to do that. The Atlanta Falcons, the Houston Texans, probably the New York Jets, and whatnot as we move forward. As always, Joe, I appreciate the time. I thank you for being a part of my 200th show of 2020, and more than anything, I appreciate your faith and your friendship. So in closing, any words you want to say to people out there, not just in sports, but in general, about keeping the faith, staying positive, staying strong. You're somebody that has always had incredible, very purposeful words in my life. So I want to open the door to you to share words with anybody else you'd like to say.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, Dan. And the one thing I'll say is that, whoever's listening online is that, the journey that you're on in your life is you're not there yet. And you have to use that term yet. So everything you're working towards is towards a vision, is towards the best version of yourself. And stay strong within that goal and keep reinforcing it with the people that are surrounding you and with positive daily talk to yourself. And understand that you are going to get to where you want to get to if you're diligent and you have laser focus on what you're going to be down the road. Not what you are right now, but what you're going to be down the road. And that vision of yourself will continue to wake you up and drive you. And don't let anything stop you, and don't listen to the naysayers. Just keep your focus on a growth mindset, and you will achieve those goals.
And coming from Joe Adam. Joe, as always, I appreciate you, and hopefully you and I get to connect with one another soon. But God bless, as always, with everything. Stay safe, and my best to you, your family, your team, and like you said, the real head coach at home.
Thanks, Dan. God bless everybody.
All right, take care. That coming from Joe Adam once again here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets life. We're going to take a step aside for a fast break, and when we come back, we will wrap up the show and get you ready for the rest of the week right here inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. You're watching and listening to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and I appreciate you being here so very much.
Avicoli's Restaurant, located right at the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road, is proud to be your local neighbor, growing with you for over 20 years. We're open 7 days a week for lunch, dinner, and drinks. For takeout, delivery, or catering, call us at 315-622-5100. When you order online and use our promo code AVS10, you will save 10% on your online purchase at myavicolis.com. And make sure to join us monthly for our live on-site broadcasts centered around Liverpool athletics. Avicoli's, your local, trusted neighbor right at the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road.
Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or, of course, the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
Trapper's Pizza Pub, located on 5950 Butternut Drive in East Syracuse. Right off of Bridge Street is your local community supporter right around the corner. Join us on site at Trapper's Pizza Pub for our live monthly broadcast supporting Central New York student athletes and their sports programs. Call 315-438-4444 for more information. And find us on Facebook and Instagram at Trapper's Pizza Pub. Trapper's Pizza Pub, your local community supporter right around the corner.
Cafe Kubal Mobile Cafe brings the cafe experience to you. We'll roll out to your neighborhood or office, ready to serve our locally crafted espresso bar to our loyal patrons. Inquire at cafecubal.com. Cafe Cubal, coffee for the soul.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, located on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, is home to over 40 flavors with more than 200 flavors in their total wheelhouse. Sky's the limit for this sweet and savory Central New York company. Keep it local at your parties, fundraisers, wedding showers, baby showers, and more by calling 315-450-MA-PA. That's 315-450-6272 for popcorn bars with custom flavors and colors at your upcoming event. Make sure to visit them on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. And for more information, go to maandpazsnacks.com. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you? The Millhouse Market, located on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York, is worth the drive every time. Make sure you download their app by going to the Google Play or Apple App Store and searching Millhouse Market. Once you're there, you'll have every single piece of their menu at your fingertips, all of their homemade recipes and fantastic creations, from their breads to their desserts to their salads, their rice bowls, quinoa bowls, their pizzas, and over 30 different sandwiches named after the families that helped to settle what is today's Pulaski. It is amazing everything that Millhouse has done, especially with making that app so user-friendly. It offers contactless pay, so you don't have to hand your card to anyone. And they have a drive-up window, so you can literally pick your food up while sitting in your car. And it's an amazing, amazing experience to be able to have the service, the quality of food, as well as the safety and the accessibility that is granted to us from Millhouse Market. Thank you to Rebecca Elford and the entire team on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York, making the Millhouse Market worth the drive every time. With that being stated here, folks, on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I want to thank you for being a part of today's broadcast. I know that it's been a tough week, when it comes to some of the teams. Corona's been going on and different things have been happening. So I know it's been a tough week. And I know that, you're sitting here saying, Dan, how do we get through it as Syracuse fans? How do I get through it as a Giants fan or a Jets fan or whatever it may be? How do I get through the loss of my job, the loss of, a relationship, the loss of a friendship? How do I deal with this adversity in my life? What do I do? How do I do it? And I would tell you to pray. Even if you've never done it before, I would say just say a prayer. Just talk. Okay? Whether you believe in God or whatever you believe, just say a prayer. I promise you somebody's listening. I promise you that somebody is good. And if you take the time to get to know them, I promise you life will get better. So pray. Say something positive, good. Be good to yourself. Speak positivity into your life. If you say to yourself, I'm never going to have a girlfriend, I'm never going to get married, I'm never going to have kids, I'm never going to have the life I want, I'm never going to have the job I want, I'm never going to live where I want, then you never will. I can't even stomach saying that stuff. Just as an example, made me want to throw up just now. Speak positivity into your life. I will live my dreams. I will find that special someone. I will, or they'll find me. I will achieve everything that I want to achieve in my life. I will live in a great house, in a great community, with great people. I will raise my kids right. If you had a great parent, I'll be just as good as them, if not better. If you didn't have a great experience, I'll be even better. Speak positivity into your life. As Juanita always says in the name of her book that you can buy at Amazon.com. You can buy the paperback or you could buy it digitally for your Kindle. I can, I will succeed. Believe in yourself. Believe in each other. Believe that it can happen, that it will happen. Believe in the good. Stay positive. Believe there will be an end to coronavirus. Believe that you will get past your heartache. Believe that you will be able to move forward with a loved one passing away that means the world to you. Believe that you can achieve all the things that you want in your life. Believe that the good will come to you, and it will. I promise you, no matter how hard it is, believing in yourself is better than not. Having faith is better than the lack thereof. Find us on Facebook for positive messages and everything all the way through. Facebook.com @WakeUpCallDT, Twitter @CallDT, and Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. We appreciate you. I send my love to you every single day. This is the 200th episode of 2020, and I will not let it be somber. I know we talked about hard stuff and a harsh reality with Syracuse, but I love and appreciate the players. I love and appreciate the coaches. I want nothing but the best for every single one of them. I can constructively talk about what's going wrong, but I refuse to personally attack or push somebody down. There's a difference between telling a story that's tough to tell because there's some criticism and just being hateful. I always think about when I turn my mic on in the morning, when I go to write something, how would I want somebody to orally or, through the written word, how would I like somebody to talk about me? If I made a mistake, if I did something that they didn't agree with, how would I like them to speak about it? How would I like them to share it? And that's how I attack the day. I want Dino Babers to succeed. I want Syracuse football to succeed. I want Joe Adams to succeed. I want Rob Drummond to succeed. I want you to succeed. As long as you're putting good into the world, I want good to come out for you. I don't want people that are trying to do bad things to succeed. And that's not me wishing bad on them. That's me just saying I don't want evil to succeed in the world. I want to see things get better for Syracuse. I want to see things get better for my community. I want to see us rise. I want to see things get better for our nation and our world. So please understand that above everything else, that as much as we constructively talk about some things here and criticize some things here, it is always with love, with hope, with positivity, and with the anticipation that things will get better, because they will. So Dino, keep working. Staff, keep working. Players, keep working. Tommy DeVito, get healthy. Cisco, get healthy. Everybody else out there, get healthy. Stay safe, stay well, and know above all things, win, lose, or draw, I'm always praying for you, hoping the best for you, and I never, ever want you to go a day where you don't appreciate being here on this earth. Happy 200 wake-up call. We did it, baby, of 2020. I love you all. Appreciate you all. I hope you have a great day. Big shout out to MonPazPopcorn.com. Go there, use the promo code DT20 and get 20% off your favorite flavors today. Rob Drummond, Joe Adam, thank you, gentlemen, for being a part of the show. Cafe Kubal Studios, you know where it's at. The DT Special Pumpkin Spice Chai is available at all locations, 3501 James Street, 401 South Salina Street, inside of Galisanos Children's Hospital, on 208 North Townsend Street, the newest location at the Holly Green Cafe, and on 324 West Water Street in Syracuse. Head out to Cafe Kubal, have them come to you with their mobile cafe, or have them deliver to you. Local delivery in Onondaga County is free of a delivery charge. Get all the information at cafekubal.com. You can also get the information on Cafe Kubal and all of our fantastic partners by going to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and simply clicking on any of their logos or going to the Central New York tab. Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Mon Paz Kettle Corn, MonPazPopcorn.com. Use the promo code DT20. Chick-fil-A Cicero, Honda City of Liverpool, Trapper's Pizza Pub, Avicoli's. Use the promo code for 10% off all your orders on myavicoli's.com using AVS10, that's AVS10, and the Millhouse Market. Find the show on so many different outlets for audio archive: Stitcher, Spotify, MixLR, TuneIn, Podbean, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and iTunes and Apple Podcasts. You'll also see all of our videos and our videocasts on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. And of course, you're listening and watching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. You're watching on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, and you're listening on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT. I appreciate you. I thank you for being a part of today's show. God bless. No stress. Do your best. Once again, happy 200 Wake Up Call. You know I love you, and I appreciate you. I get to put my blood, sweat, and tears every single day into my dreams and doing what I love. I feel privileged to be in this studio. I feel privileged to be with you. And more than anything, I feel privileged to have the friends and family that I have, the support that I have, and the great business partners that I have that are just truly incredible. Just everybody around me that's been good and positive. And above all things, I am unafraid and unapologetic to thank my God. Have a great day, folks. I'll talk with you soon here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Show 200 of 2020. We'll talk soon.